Okay, let's go ahead and get into the stock market technical analysis. We're going to use the charts to be our guide. If you guys are finding value, please drop me a thumbs up. I do appreciate that. Leave a comment. Let me know how I'm doing. And then also, if you're interested in the private member group, link in the description below on that one. I've been posting in there. So far, we've had some good trades this week. Okay, so let's get into it. Triple Qs, guys. We obviously have Nvidia earnings after the bell today. Nvidia makes up a huge portion of the triple Qs now. So you've kind of got Apple, Microsoft, and Nvidia basically are kind of the big heavy hitters. And so, yeah, that's coming out right after the bell. So that can go anyway. We'll take a look at Nvidia. Triple Qs, though, let's go ahead and just dig into that. On the daily chart, I'm just going to show you guys what I'm seeing on the daily. And then we'll narrow it down to tighter time frames, and then we'll just try to anticipate where this is going to go after earnings. On the daily chart, we have this bearish engulfing candle right there. I have it circled out. So far, that's marked the top. When you see a bearish engulfing after the end of extended uptrend, especially when you have negative divergence, which we had right there, that was a very likely topping stick. And so far, that has been the top. All right, there's your top, and boom, you had a big drop in triple Qs right down to the 200-day moving average. This is where we reversed short, went long. The buyer stepped in, obviously rallied it back up. Now we do have another bearish engulfing right here. So we had this uptrend line here. There's a bearish engulfing right there as well. So as of right now, in the short term, that has remained the top. All right, and we are seeing some selling, obviously, over the last few days. Some profit taking, it seems like, into the Nvidia earnings. I mean, if you were long and you caught the rally there, I can't help but think it makes sense to take profit because from my perspective, I've actually been scaling into shorts. So I'm, obviously looking for this to go the other way. And again, started scaling back into shorts, right around here is where we started to scale in. So they're not profitable yet, the shorts, but they're not too far off from the profit. So what do we got going on now? Again, we this negative divergence is, it was intact. That was the top. Now we do have a potential bull flag. I definitely can see a potential bull flag. It's the flag, basically, if you look at it, looks something like this. Here's your flagpole, and then we've been flagging out. And then if you get the continuation, which would likely be on Nvidia earnings, all right? If they come out really positive, then that would send Nvidia up. And that really essentially, the major target for the flag is all the way up here, and I can barely see the value of it because it's kind of way up in my upper range. I almost have to go like that. Yeah, it's about 539. Is the major target for the bull flag. So maybe that plays out. I don't think that's going to play out because obviously if that played out, you're going to burn through any kind of divergence that exists. But that's the measured flag. That's the major target for a bull flag on triple Qs. What I'm looking at this as is actually this was the top. We had a first leg down, kind of a B correction, and now we're looking to roll over for the next push down. Probably down to about 413, all the way down. There's a trend line. There's a major trend line. If I go all the way down here, it really comes off COVID, and it's all the way down there. Also, there's some decent support here, about 384. So that would be actually a more a target I'd be looking for a drop. Now, again, that's the daily chart. So it's going to take Nvidia to come out with probably a gap down in order for that to happen. So let's go ahead and just look at Nvidia. So on Nvidia, you can see we've been building negative divergence for a while now. You see momentum still dropping off, and haven't made a new high recently. So if we do, this is also that same kind of flagging pattern. If it pops up and makes a new high, it's likely going to be a divergent high. Otherwise, the topping stick is present here too. There it is right there, bearish engulfing. That's marked the top on Nvidia, and it's held so far. I mean, that top has been in place since, middle of June, so a couple months now. And until that's taken out, until you get a daily close above that bearish engulfing, that remains the top. So from my perspective, I believe we're actually going to start to roll over. There's also this uptrend line. This is big for Nvidia. You'll see it here on the daily. There's support. All right. This is where the buyers have been at each and every time. And again, they stepped in there as well. So you really have to take out that trend line for some real damage to be done to the Nvidia chart. You got to take that trend line out. So maybe they gap it down. If they gap this thing down after hours, way down here, that would be a drop. Let's just measure that out. Yeah, of about 20%. So it's possible. Nvidia's gapped up 20%. So it can gap down that much. And if you gap down there, you would be taking out that support. All right. And that would be a big sell signal. Otherwise, or I mean, I don't think that's a high probability move to gap down 20%. I know it is possible, but I just don't think it's that high probability. You also have, again, the potential bull flag, all right, and kind of flagging out here, which would send Nvidia up to, and let's just measure that out. I'm just kind of trying to point out the downside and the upside, and the bull and bear case. Up to about 175.63 would be the major target for that bull flag. So again, it's definitely high risk, right? And going to Nvidia, and it can go either way. Earnings can always go either way. So it, if you're not accepting the risk that's there, you can always have a smaller position size, and then we can take up you can always scale back into a position after Nvidia. Nvidia is probably prone to a large gap, and it's going to be up or down, so it's kind of binary. Flipping back to the triple Qs on the shorter time frame, really like 15-minute hourly chart, you'll see here there's this gap, and I sent this chart to the private member group yesterday. Basically, I had two key levels of support, and it's based off this gap right here. You've got gap entry and you've got gap fill. Gap entry is at 468.44, and gap fill is about 464-ish. And here's the private member group post I did. I made it 23 hours ago, so it was yesterday basically. And I basically said that we were sitting at support about 473.85, and a break of that level should send us down to the next support level, which is 468.75, or the gap fill 463.64. But as of now, we were at support, and that was yesterday. And then basically we were kind of like right in here, and then we held, and then we did break that level. Once we broke that level, we pretty much right down to that first level of support, and we're there now. So I don't think we're going to go fill the gap today. We got about an hour and a half left. It's possible, but in general, in fact, I think we probably rally, all right, into the close, up to maybe back up to this level. And then I think we're going to gap down. That's the way I'm going to be leaning. Meta, you can see here, this one's got a lot going on, but in general, you've got a support line that was taken out and broken. You back tested basically twice, put in a slightly higher high right here above the previous high, and kept the divergence intact. See the negative divergence? That remains intact. So in general, to me, looks like this is topped out. Now, if we gap up on Nvidia, we're probably going to backtest this trend line again, which would be another divergent high. That would be a move possibly of 8% or so. And then that would likely get sold into. So that, again, it's objective if you're at resistance. Down here ahead of a big headline risk, you can gap up or down. Now, if you gap down, this thing hasn't even hit the 200-day moving average, so I do think you gap down to the 200. All right, well, let me check, actually. I got to see how far that is. Yeah, it's about 12% down. So, yeah, I think that would be a potential drop, or maybe a gap and then sell off down to the 200 after Nvidia earnings. Nvidia really has the potential to kind of tank the market or make or tank the market. So you have to kind of pick a side, a direction that you think the market's heading. And if you're unsure, you don't obviously have to trade anything, or maybe taper down your position size. That always makes sense. Okay, moving on. JP Morgan. Okay, JP Morgan, couple things. It's been kind of trading up over the last, couple months. Well, really since about a month, basically. Been just kind of grinding higher. The RSI is starting to turn down right here. PPO hasn't turned down yet, but does to me look like we're putting in a doji reversal candle right there. Not a huge wick, but in general, it's a doji. And we're making a new divergent high. If we turn down now, we're going to keep that negative divergence intact, all right? This has been building for a while, and we turn down now, it's going to be a new divergent high, keeping the divergence intact, and we're likely going to get sold into from current levels. So I like it as a short, basically right here and now today. If you look at the hourly chart, I can narrow it down on the hourly. I've got support kind of grinding up here. We started to break, but still floating, back test, and it's getting rejected. So I think we have seen the high in JP Morgan, at least the near-term high, and we're likely going to sell down because this is a new divergent high, and I do believe there's a high probability it gets sold into. So I'd be looking for downside on that one. SMCI getting tanked today. I believe there was some short seller news. It doesn't really matter. Technically, it was set up to sell off. This one broke support way back here, and we just kind of had an A, B, C wave down. There's some support right down here, about 395, and there's also this trend line. Seems like they're trying to hold this trend line right here. So it's close enough that it's kind of hitting that trend line, filling some support. It's likely as far as it's going to go, at least today. And then if Nvidia comes out negative, it'll probably gap down to about 356-ish, right in there, which is support. All right, so that one is, it's not an objective trade anymore, really. And the dollar is rising. Dollar futures here, really what I see is a downward channel. I see a breakout. Sorry, and it gets kind of messy marking this out, but I see a breakout. And then we've got a back test. They undercut it a little, but in general. And then you can see here, new low, divergent low, bullish divergence. All right, and it's rallying. So I do believe, and you probably have resistance right up here, right about there. So I do, 101.48 or so. You're probably heading up there, but a rising dollar should continue to put pressure on stocks. It should start to put pressure on stocks and gold stocks. All right, and you can see gold's all down today. The miners pretty much across the board are down. And, kind of getting some sell signals in the short term. Let me look at GDX here. GDX, still nothing definitive. And again, Nvidia is probably going to, Nvidia, and then I believe that the GDP comes out. So we'll need to see, but we should know by the end of the week if there's going to be sell signals in the markets and gold stocks and stuff. But they look weak today with that rising dollar. And this one looks like a good short. GM, you can see here on GM daily chart, support, broke support there. You can see even on that big down candle, they still closed right there. And even the following day, it gapped down, but they rallied it up and closed it at support. This was your sell signal right there, the gap down and just the hard sell. All right, sell signal. Straight down to the 200, bounced off the 200, right back into resistance. All right, and that's it. It's at resistance. It's an objective short. The RSI is starting to turn down, keeping this divergence intact. They might want to pop it up and make a new high. I mean, it's just barely there. I mean, a little bit more, just a little bit higher. A one-day pop or something might pop up and put in a divergent high, and I think that would get sold into. So I would give it a little bit of room because, yes, you're at resistance, but I could see them just popping it up intraday and then selling it off. All right, so it's objective, and you maybe want to give it a little bit of room, but in general, it's at that key trend line resistance. Looking down at the hourly chart on this one, you can see the divergence on the hourly starting to build, starting to show up. So again, maybe a little intraday pop up it to put in a new divergent high, and then a rejection. Costco, looks like we got a divergent high in Costco. You can see here, this divergence has been building really for quite a while. But if you want to just narrow it down to this time frame, There's negative divergence. RSI is turning down. PPO hasn't quite confirmed yet, but it is a divergent high. So you can see here, that is a new higher high in price. Momentum is lower. That's negative divergence. And we look for sell signals. I think we got one today. This looks like an outside day reversal candlestick, bearish engulfing. All right, and we're coming back. You know, we're basically that you had a breakout point. That was your breakout level, and it's back below it. So false breakout with a divergent high. To me, it looks like a hard sell. All right, this looks like a short right here and now. And yeah, that's how that looks. So that's a sell signal on that one. And I do believe we're going to, you know, go hit the 200 day. I'd say a minimum hit that 200. We haven't hit it yet. So coming on down on that one. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up there. And we'll see how these Nvidia earnings come out and what the market really does. And again, it's not necessarily what happens in the aftermarket. More importantly, how does the market trade out tomorrow at 9 a.m. Pacific, or 6:30 Pacific, 9 a.m. Eastern, or 9:30 Eastern when the market opens up. Okay, guys. So leave it there. Catch you guys on the next one.